What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of She, Her, They with Kittens. I'm Kittens, and this is a show for people who transcend identity expectations. I'm so glad to be back. I know it's been a minute. But I have a really good excuse, I swear. I'm really excited because I've signed on to work with a really cool company who is basically going to help with making this podcast as amazing as it can be. And I'm super, super excited to have their support because, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So, before we get into everything for today's episode, make sure you like and subscribe and follow and push all the buttons and all the things. Find me on Instagram at I am Kittens or at She Her They. Got a mailing list you can sign up on at sheherthey.com. And yeah, I'm just excited. So today is just gonna be me. And that's really exciting. And I'm just gonna keep saying things are exciting. But I'm excited about that because there's going to be some changes around here. So, starting off, I'm going to be doing a bunch of solo episodes, which I'm really psyched about. No, it's not going to be only solo episodes. I just realized that might have sounded weird, but it's basically going to be guest one week, me the next week, guest one week, me the next week. And that way I can just kind of keep y'all updated on everything. We can talk about all kinds of cool stuff that's going on, advice, commentary on maybe stuff that we talked about in a previous episode or current events. Like there's so much stuff that people ask me about or that I really want to talk about and share my perspective on. And I figured, why not just do that here? Because obviously, like this is the space for that. And um yeah, I just feel like it'll be really a good vibe to do that moving forward. So moving forward, the cadence of the show is going to change. So it's going to be weekly. I promise. Every single week is going to be me and you're going to get sick of me. I promise. And hopefully not, but like it'll be good for both of us, I swear. Also, some other changes moving forward. So I know most of our episodes, almost all of them so far, have had people who were of certain identities. We've had a lot of queer women in music, non-binary people in music who are artists. I've had actors. I've had people who are mainly in one kind of creative niche and queer, which is amazing and always going to be a central, like, main component of the show because that's my identity and also my community. So we always want to just focus on that. But I wanted to expand and keep some other people kind of coming in that I feel like transcend identity expectations in other ways. So we're going to have some guests on that are people who are doing really cool, different stuff, whether it is in their industry and their identity is maybe not one that is very represented there, or there's somebody who's kind of just doing things in a different, positive, interesting way that I feel like is really relevant and important and inspiring and motivating. Because at the end of the day, the whole point of this is to have interesting conversations, obviously, but to really like amplify and shed light on all the different ways we can be self liberated, authentically ourselves, and seeing people who are doing that already and maybe going against the grain or narrative that society has put for them, it makes it easier. I feel like it gives us permission. Like, if you see somebody doing something that was maybe not expected of them or forging their own path, it makes it easier to forge your own too. You know what I mean? It's like a lead by example kind of vibe. So really excited to have that moving forward. There's going to be advice going on. So if you guys have any questions, any topics you want to dig into, anything that you need some help with, whether it's maybe not understanding a certain concept that you're scared to ask somebody else about, or just general advice because I don't know, life is hard and we're all going through new experiences all the time. So feel free to comment or DM me or hit me on the email hello@iamkittens.com and send me any stuff you guys want to talk about because I'm happy to bring it in as a little topic whenever I do a solo episode. So, overall, we're just going to be expanding to highlight people who have marginalized identity factors across the board and help people dealing with that, dealing with different identity bits that maybe are a little bit tricky, and helping people become better allies because I feel like that's really, really a tricky topic for a lot of people. And a lot of the resources out there are either really complicated where you have to be like very I want to say not educated, but I guess like you kind of got to know the lingo already and be really ready to just jump in and learn a lot. And it's almost not super digestible or accessible to the average person who's like, how can I be a better ally to LGBTQ people who are going through crazy shit in the country right now? Like as a cis hetero person. Like there's people that want to be better, but they don't have the resources. So I'm really excited to hopefully offer those and have some chats that will just hopefully make life easier for people. So we're going to get right into it now. And I'm going to start out with a question I got that really rang some bells for me. It really made me go, oh my gosh, I've got a lot of things. And that question was, what is one thing you had to forgive yourself for? And I'm like, oh, God, the topic of forgiveness, like self forgiveness, is so, I feel like, heavy and weighted and loaded because everybody has something that they wish they could have done differently, ways they wish they could have been better, ways they wish they could change now. And it's really hard to look at those things and tell yourself that it's okay. That it's okay where you were at, that it's okay that maybe it took you a little longer to do something, or that you still have room for growth, or that, you didn't act a way you wanted to at some point. And for me, one thing that I really have had to learn to forgive myself for is actually relevant to the show, but it's very much about timing. And it's something that throughout my life, I've really had a kind of common theme of where I really want something or I'm really excited about something. And either when I'm trying to do it, it doesn't quite work out the way I want to, or I get in my own way and kind of hold myself back because I'm like, it's not the right time, or it won't be good, so let me just like wait on it or procrastinate. I feel like all of that goes under the same umbrella of timing. And I think a lot of people have that too, where we're growing up, different phases of life, we look at timing and think, I wish I would have done that thing sooner or not wasted time doing something else. And whenever I think about these things and start being hard on myself for it, which is honestly probably every day, or I have a friend talking to me about that, maybe being bummed out that they don't have the job they want or aren't at a position that they're happy with, or maybe are still struggling in therapy or are single, or what, there's so many things. And I tell myself and I tell these people the same thing. And obviously, number one, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for your journey and your timing and your pace of life and what you do with the things that you are presented with. But also, reframing things is so important and so helpful because honestly, like looking back on things that maybe I wanted or the person I used to be, I think about who I wanted to be in those moments or what I wanted to be doing, my dream job at the time or dream opportunities that maybe didn't happen, whether it was my fault, I was holding myself back, or like it just wasn't working out. There's obstacles for whatever reason. I look back and I go, what good happened by the timing working out like that? Like what good came from that? And sometimes it's like, wow, I'm so glad I didn't get to, you know, X level. Like, say I really wanted to be DJing at a certain level at a certain period of time, as far as like when there was this really big trend in music happening. And it was like right when I was starting to DJ really seriously. And now looking back, I'm like, oh my God, if I really like popped off on a super massive level at that time when I really wanted to, I would be either totally pigeonholed into that trend or that sound, or I would have been completely burnt out to the point where I wouldn't have had the time or energy to take care of myself, my physical health, my mental health. I wouldn't have had the ability to spend time with my loved ones who are not with me anymore. I would have had different opportunities that I wouldn't have been able to take if that thing I thought I wanted at that time happened. You know what I mean? And thinking about that makes me go, okay, I don't have to be so hard on myself right now about timing, about where I'm at, because I know things are really, I'm where I'm supposed to be. You're where you're supposed to be. And we need to learn to just be okay with that. And I know that's such a strange, like, just, be present. Like, it seems like such an obvious thing, but it's hard. It's hard when you have so many things you want and we're always looking ahead at the future. Of course, we want to be ahead, and it's hard to just find the positives in the lack of things that are happening for us. Another example, maybe somebody's, a little bit older and they're like, God, I haven't found my person yet. Or they want to be married, or they want to settle down and have a partner. And they're just like, God, why am I single right now? Why am I having such a hard time finding a good relationship? And a great way to reframe that is like, look at this time you have now to work on your own stuff for yourself, like for your own growth, because you are now going to be ready when somebody good comes along, for when somebody who you're really like ready for comes along. Because if we're just jumping into relationship after relationship, for example, and we're not totally ready, or we haven't done the self-reflection or the healing work, then we're just settling down into something that's not going to work out or make us happy long term. So it's kind of good to be like not going through extra drama when you can have the time to do positive things by yourself. You know what I mean? So it's really all about reframing and finding ways to do that so you can shift the perspective in your own brain so that you're not focusing on all the things you don't have, and instead you're focusing on all the good that's come from that lack of opportunity in a way. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. And with understanding timing, the whole thing about trusting the process comes up, right? But we're always told to just trust the process, and we don't really know what that means, or we're not given like actionable ways to trust the process. Like, I can't just be like, all right, I trust it, and then, and then I feel better. It doesn't work that way. One of the things that I do that I find to be super, super helpful, and I know some other people do like their own versions of this, but it's kind of like a different take on a gratitude list. So, when they say like write out all the things you're grateful for and just like be grateful, it's like that, but a bit more specific. So you're going to think of whatever thing you're struggling with, whether it is, I didn't get the job that I wanted, or I'm still single, for example. You're going to think about the thing that you wanted or you want right now, whether it's a specific job or a promotion or an opportunity or friends or a relationship, like anything that you're like, I don't have this thing now. I really want this thing, and I'm bummed out about not having this thing. You're going to write a list out of all the good stuff that you have now because you don't have the thing that you want. So because you don't have maybe a ton of friends or a relationship, guess what? You have more free time, you have more energy, You have more just freedom to do things that will elevate your life. You have more room to take up a hobby. You have more opportunities to work on yourself. You have more time to just reflect and dig into the things that you really maybe want to improve about yourself. You have more time and energy to dedicate to the people that are in your life, that are special to you, whether that's your family, other friends, anything like that. You have that space because you don't have this thing you want, right? So you would list out all of those things. And then every day you can read that, you can add to it, but just keep it going until you believe it. And really, like, I will legit just keep writing my list until I feel it in my gut. Like, God, I'm actually genuinely so glad that this thing didn't happen, because look what I have now instead. And that's all about just feeling like the world is looking out for you. You can call it an abundance mindset, whatever you want to call it, but it's really a good way to practice trusting the process and practice reframing. Another thing that I really like to do that I think is super helpful when you're having a hard time and you are just like really down on yourself for whatever reason, literally whatever reason, I feel like oftentimes our default is to slip into this like kind of tornado of like negative self-talk, just thinking like, this is bad, I'm the worst, these are all the reasons I suck, these are all the reasons nobody likes me, these are all the things that I'm lacking. Like, you just kind of start looping on those, and it takes you down, because like obviously something that negative is going to take you down. But again, it's one of those things that people are like, oh, think positive, but like no one tells you how to think positive. No one tells you how to stop having those negative thoughts. So one thing that I do that I think is really helpful is a kind of visualization where when I'm feeling like, okay, I'm in spiral mode, I'm about to go into that tornado of like, uh-oh, lots of bad thoughts happening, I'll close my eyes and I'll look at two doors, and I'll have one door that is my, we can go through this and just go into a dark spiral, or I can acknowledge like, all right, I'm not feeling fantastic right now, but I can go through this door in my brain. And once I go through this door, I'm going to reframe stuff, and I'm going to make the decision to not spiral. And again, it's not always easy to just be like, okay, no, I'm going to stop. But really, like, once you pause before the spiral, or before the spiral gets out of hand, once you just pause and decide, what do I want to feel like? Do I enjoy that feeling of like, I don't know, demise and sadness and whatever? Like, probably not. So you pause and you make the choice. I want to reframe it. I'm going to go through this door and do my little reframing and try and get positive and find something good in the situation. And then you can make your list, you can meditate, do whatever you need to do. But at the end of the day, once you make that choice to feel better and choose what's right for you, you're able to forgive yourself. Number one, because you know you're making the choices that are best for you now, best for you today, best for you no matter what is going on, the best that you can do for yourself in that moment. Because when you do that, there is no guilt or shame that can really take you down if you've given yourself that permission to work on doing whatever you need to do to manage that situation, to feel better, to forgive yourself. You can just kind of be like, I don't really need to feel bad about what I'm doing right now. I'm doing my best, and that's enough. I hope that made sense, because I just realized that was a total ramble, and maybe it just made sense in my head because I tell myself these things all the time, or I tell my friends. But you know what? I'm telling you because we're friends now. So you get the friend treatment. You get whatever is bouncing around in my head. But yeah, moving forward, I'm really excited, and I'm happy to have this moment with y'all every week. And again, any questions, any topics, any bits you want to touch on or get into, whether it's stuff happening in the world or happening in your own life, feel free to let me know. And yeah, I'll see you next week.